Hello there. So I'm just gonna talk about prepare ourselves to be loved. When we're talking about love, I think most of us, like growing up, the definition of love, we have to define it because we realize at some point there's actually a thin line between codependency and love. So this is something that I struggle with. But as I grow, I realize no, this is not love. This is not like it doesn't promote any high vibrational energy that I need to experience or that I have to experience because love is a high vibrational thing. That's why a lot of people who are actually not like, I won't say like a lot of people, but it's more like a lot of people are in a toxic relationship because obviously not all of us experience love. We tend to see what our parent, probably you experience like a family or parents who are actually not loving each other, but they pretend to be loving each other because they don't even know what love is. It's something that they're going about not even knowing that what is actually wrong with whatever. You can tell when you're a child, obviously, like my parents fight a lot, my parents fight a lot about money, my parents are this and that. You can tell this is toxic. Probably it's something that you even said to yourself, I don't want this for myself. A lot of people who actually grow up in toxic home, there's high possibility when they're growing up, they say something like, I don't want to get married, I don't want to have kids, I don't want to have anything that has to do with commitment. They run the fuck away from it because obviously it's something that they know it fucked them up growing up, seeing it on their parents, seeing how much how each parent treating each other like garbage, and they call it love. And it obviously gonna fuck you up in the head. It's gonna fuck you up. You'll be like, I don't want to deal with this. I want peace. I want this and this and that. Or maybe you're gonna be like, I want to do better than my parent did, but you don't know what exactly is wrong with your parent. Beside, you see it in a more like a surface level. You don't understand how deep that shit is. You don't understand I remember when I was growing up, I was like, I don't want to be like my mother. I want to like, I just like, for me, she was more like an inspiration to be not like her. But as much as I said I don't want to be like her, I didn't know how deep the the hurt, the pain, the curse, the generational curse, how deep that shit is, until I was like realizing, looking at all of my bloodline, like from my mother's side, my daddy's side, as well as the bloodline that I like, my parent, and I was like, oh shit, even my siblings are repeating this shit. Like, you don't know, like, you don't realize. Sometimes you'll be thinking like it's just something that is surface, but it's not even surface. It's deep. Like, that shit is deep. And as deep as it is, it's gonna take you like a lot of time for you to do the shadow work, a lot of time for you to reflect on that, a lot of time for you to heal on that. So it's not something that you can just gonna look at in a surface manner and be like, oh, I got it, I'm good, I'm like, it's so deep. So us preparing ourselves to be loved, we need to first understand that love has nothing to do with being dependent on other, or being dependent on another. Have you ever come across someone who's like, I want to be loved, but they don't know how to do that for themselves. The thing is, when you don't know how to do something for yourself, there's no way someone can love you the way you want to be loved. It's only you who can give you that. Nobody can give you, like, do you know that we actually teach people how they should treat us? I'm not saying you ask for that nigga to treat you horrible. I'm not saying you ask for that woman to use you for money, or being a bitch, or being a hoe. I'm not saying you ask for that, but energetically, it's more like you were like, come to me, come to me. Like, you were attracting that. with your energy. Because the thing is, I mentioned that we are our own bullies before we get bullies by other people. We judge ourselves in the most awful way. We tend to be mean with ourselves, with the dialogue that we have, until you change that. That's when a lot of things were gonna change. A lot of time, whenever you did something wrong and then you don't put yourself in a hard spot whereby you are mean to yourself for no fucking reason, it's okay to make mistake, because what's the point of being here? Because I believe our existence on earth, it was karmic. Anything karmic, it's more like us growing up, and more like us having a purpose, us going through adversity that allow us to elevate, allow us to move from one level to another. Because every level that you're gonna get at, there's always gonna it's have it fuckery. Some say the more you upgrade, the more level of fuckery we're gonna go through it. So it's like that. So preparing ourselves to be loved, you first have to be your soulmate. You can't just say, I'm asking for my soulmate. Even if your soulmate comes, you won't be satisfied. Not because the soulmate is not good enough, it's because you want your soulmate to do the inner work that you are refusing to do. You want your soulmate to do everything for you while you're not doing anything for you. Like our own existence as people is gonna be hard. That's why a lot of people don't understand about the chosen one. Like, as much as I'm the chosen one, I know there are plenty of them. People just think being a chosen one, it's gonna like walking in a park. um, because as the saying says, the few that are actually, a lot of us are called a few that are actually chosen. Because why? Not everyone is willing to do the inner work. Not everyone is doing willing to do the shadow work. That's why a lot of them, a lot of people ended up being called rather than being chosen. It's because they don't want to do what is necessary for them to do. It's the same thing with love. Love, it's everybody is in a relationship, and everybody is in a relationship genetically. Their sexually genetics are in a relationship, but they're not in love. Sometimes they, like, for example, I'll make an example with this toxic couple that a lot of people make like it's a couples goal and shit. Nah, it's not a couple goal. That relationship is garbage. Oh, Beyonce and Jay-Z, like, I don't care what you say, but that relationship, like, I'm just not gonna focus on it because she's in my energy. So, like, love is high vibrational form. A lot of people are in a relationship for genetical reason, for status, for popularity, for being recognized. Because apparently, our society, when we are seeing you, are viewed as someone who actually have a disease, instead of like people prefer to be in a toxic relationship rather than being single, because they don't want themselves to be alone. I don't know. I wanna speak, but mm, people people prefer to be in relationship despite the fact that they are miserable in it. People don't want to leave because they are so scared of the unknown. People stay because they don't have faith in God. They don't have faith that their situation um, is gonna be a best decision to leave. Like, they think it's something like you can't expect love when you are not prepared for it. You can't say I want this and the next thing you're not doing that for yourself. Like, you're supposed to be loved. You're supposed to be loved to yourself. You're supposed to be the person who give love without expecting any reward. Have you ever like love yourself to the point that when you give to other people, you don't expect any reward because you are a giver? Obvious, when you're a giver, you're supposed to have boundaries. Everything have to have boundaries, with your money, boundaries with your energy, boundaries with your physical boundaries, uh emotional boundaries, physical, like the plenty of boundaries. You're supposed to apply them everywhere, including with your giving tendency. You're supposed to have boundaries, because there's some people you be like, nah, I ain't helping that bitch no more. Because why? There's some people who just believe that you're supposed to be giving them, despite the fact that they're shitting on you. Because people can shit on you and expect you to be there for them. How? Like how? So how, like, we prepare ourselves through discipline. You have to discipline yourself. Like you have to discipline yourself. Most of the time, discipline can come in a manner of making conscious decision, being aware. Like discipline can come in many forms, but it's necessary for you to prepare yourself to be loved. Being courageous, like being courageous, like you are being courageous, whereby you actually leave a situation that is no longer good for you. Because you know the thing is about being miserable. When you're miserable, you're always around people. Have you ever come across people who don't love their company? They have to, the first thing in the morning, they have to talk to their neighbors in order to get energy. And you'll be like, what? Like, they want energy like all the time. They have to find energy outside. They won't find them with alone, because they have to find energy outside. They have to, in order for them to function like as a normal being. Because even extrovert, they need their alone time. I'm talking about those people who just can't enjoy their own company. If they sleep alone, it feels like it's weird, just collapse on them or something. Or maybe they have to talk to their neighbor in order for them to be energized and go for whatever they those people who call you even at night just to drain your energy, just because they don't want a peace. It's just because they don't want have the courage to do things that they're supposed to be doing, which is share work. They don't, not willing to be courageous to initiate things. Like, you know what? I am initiating this with myself. I am initiating this. I want this in my life, and this is something that I want. This is not the life that I want to live. They don't have courage for that. They always expect reward. Everything they do, they need to have a reward. They don't do things because they want to. You know those people, when they help you, everybody's supposed to know they help you. You don't know those motherfuckers, like they irritate me. Like you will borrow money for them from them. Not that you borrow money that you're not gonna give it back, but you borrow money from them, and the next thing when you, like, everybody will know about your business. Like let me just drink water. Do you know those people whereby they done something for you? Everyone in the neighborhood or the other friends that they have, that they don't know anything about you, they know about your business. You know those people who just want to be seen as givers through making other people feel like shit for borrowing money on them. So like that, we have to prepare ourselves to be loved through courage, through us initiating things, to have our own independence of thought as well as action. If you if you are dependent on other people to tell you what to do, if you are dependent on other people's validation, if you are dependent on other people's way in order for you to initiate anything, you don't have courage to do things on your own, you don't have courage to start something, you don't have courage to do anything, there's no way that you can receive love that you actually feel like you deserve. When we prepare ourselves to be loved, we have to be loved first by us loving ourselves, being loving. Love, it's not something that we view it as a surface thing. It's deep. It's something that is very deep. It's not something that it can be like exercising is an aid of self-love. Um, Wearing nice, being clean, and all that, I would view it as aid of love. But it's necessary because eventually I will smell. It's necessary because eventually, um, my body, like me not exercising will affect me emotionally, mentally, as well as spiritual, because I know what exercising does for me. But it's also a aid. It's not something that I will say I can't live without it. It's just that it make my life easier. So self-love, all of that I mentioned, that I said it's an aid, it's more like a tips of what love is, because love is within. We have to be loved in order for us to receive love. We have to, people think just being loved, it means love doesn't have boundaries. It does. It just does have boundaries. It does have a give and take. A give and take. It does have you a give and takes. It does has you giving as well as you withdrawing. Because at the end of the day, if you're always available for people, it's okay to always available for people, but it's also not healthy when you have to compromise your things. Like probably you had other things that you have to do, but you ended up jumping. I sometimes find myself doing that, whereby I jump for people because I want to be there for everybody, but I had to ask myself, am I busy? Because sometimes I'm like, fuck, I should have done that with that time, you know. You need to just have boundaries. Like boundaries is love itself. You have to have boundaries with yourself. You have to have boundaries with other people. So us being loving to our own self, it's us preparing ourselves with love. For example, when I, like for example, I remember I once come across a quote that says, love it's us nurturing our own inner child. I mean, like me nurturing my partner's inner child and my partner nurturing um my inner child. And I didn't like that. Like I still don't agree with that, because I don't believe that my partner is there to nurse what I suffer. Like my partner is not responsible to be my parent. My parent may not love me, but it doesn't mean now he's supposed to be my. The only time that he has to be my parent is when I'm sick. That when, but it's he's not like fully obligated to do that. But because I'm sick, I'm in bed, that's when I'm like, I will accept him in the role of being a parent. My partner, yes, there will be a time that he had to be a sibling. There will be a time that he had to be my friend. There will be a time for him to be my lover. Like it will play a lot of role, but it's not supposed, like it is supposed to be a partner more than other roles that it will eventually play. I'm not like wanting a partner that has to heal. Like my partner is not there to heal something I'm not willing to heal. Yes, is there to restore something that probably like I gave up on love, and the next thing I find myself opening up. But he's not like there to force me to do things. He's not there to do things that I'm not willing to do, which is me loving myself, which is something like, do you know those bread, like spoiled bread? I've seen it on women, and I've seen it on men too. Like for example, I dated a guy, was actually her mother passed away, and I felt like I was playing a role of being a mother. And when I'm looking back, since I was a kid, I was playing a role of being my. People used to throw kids at me, or my mother wanted me to be a mother to her. Like I was like, what the fuck? The guy only loved me because I remind her of his mother. And the same thing with the other one. Her mother was still alive, but her mother was those narcissist neglecting mother who are extremely religious. Like, oh, praise the Lord. Yee. But they neglect, like, those motherfuckers, like, they annoy me. Like, because my mother is also, like, my comic mother is also religious. Like, ah, God, she would know the scriptures, but she's horrible. Like, she's fucking horrible. The worst part, she's a pastor's kid. So, those mothers, like, guys, I don't know what I was saying, but I'm sure you heard me. So, like, I'm not responsible for the fact that your mother was not there in your life. The only thing that I will love you, and you're gonna tell me your love language, but if your love language is based on you wanting me to be your mother, your love language is based on you wanting me to be in a because that it's a codependent relationship. As I said, there's a thin line between love and codependency. whereby you feel like you are all avoiding using each other to avoid whatever that is going on within you, that's not going to work. The relationship will be toxic. um it's the same thing. It's a trauma bonding. You are trauma bonding with someone. It's the same thing. Like, I remember I said to spirit, like, God, I want a partner that is actually the same as me in terms of like a childhood, or probably like grew up in a domestic violent home. um like, I mentioned all the things that I went through, but I didn't say that I want a partner that's actually evolving beyond that, that is willing to go through everything and whatsoever. I met a guy who's actually that, but you know what? He didn't break free from it. Like, he didn't break free from the toxicity that he grew up into. Instead, he chose the path that is easily, like, it decided to be exactly like his father, but obviously he was not like, we didn't date. We never dated. Instead, when I come across him, I just knew that he didn't grow up. Like, he went through it, but he's still like partially adult. Is a partially adult, is not like willing to grow beyond that. He's not willing to the demands of being a total adult, is not willing to do that, because the adult would constantly demand you to be adult. He's not willing to do that. Instead, he just wanna sit there, and you know those niggas that you could be suffering and shit and so ever, and they will make your life be more miserable. You'll be like, fuck, why I'm still with that person? Like, why I'm still with that nigga? Like, why I'm still with that bitch? Because you can feel it. You'll be miserable. You'll be sick. Like, you'll be so sick and miserable. And the nigga have audacity to act on that. Like, I remember, like, yo, guys, like my ex, like, I knew that we were both in the same age, so we were both young and all that. So the guy was like, that guy. I, I dated horrible people, man. Like, him, he knew that I'm going through shit. And I remember, like, I was anxious because my food was running out and all of that. Like, I've never asked like that nigga anything. So, beside being loyalty and buying so all that, but the nigga have audacity. Like he was there to help me to finish my food, and I was like, okay, but like, why can't he just like buy me bread or something? Like, you know what? You don't know what advice he said. So he said like, oh, it will be okay. And I was like, yeah, I knew that it would be okay, but like he was just taking and taking and taking and taking. Like, I'm not a person who complain for food, but I think that was a time that it finally worked. Like, my brain started working. I was like, because eventually the plenty of things that he done, but I was kind of like, I'm still gonna give that nigga a chance. Like, I'm still like, you know, when you be like, guys, I just wanna go deep, but those niggas will put you through shit and have audacity to wanna have sex. Like, it's so like, ugh. Okay, I'm trying not to talk about this shit. So yeah, we have to prepare ourselves to be loved. As much as like we all like eventually probably one of us wish to have like a high school sweetheart or a teenage sweetheart, a varsity like university or college sweetheart whatsoever, but it never worked. And you realize when you actually broken up with them, like, why it never worked, because sometimes we tend to have a struggle with defining what actually love is. We were pushed to understand that this is not love. This is like, for example, have you ever like the most toxic relationship in Hollywood? It was Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez, and a lot of people are shipping on them. They don't understand what went down. They don't understand Justin Bieber was not like healthy. They don't understand, even Selena Gomez didn't understand the meaning of love, what was. So when I see like people still are rooting on that relationship, I'm like, fuck. still a lot of people who vibration low. They still believe that is love. I understand that we have to go through a relationship like that in order for us to evolve, because every level of your life you're gonna meet your soulmate. That's why, and you'll be like, oh wow, so this soulmate was actually like this whatsoever. They like, you can't even compare them, because you can feel it like, okay, in this level I met this person, in this level I'm, because we're gonna have a blend of soulmate. Like I once even said something like, people said you have a lot of option, like wow, you have a lot of option, like my name is Kalilo, so you have a lot of option Kalilo. And I was like, in man, like looking like you have a lot, like I was like, I wish I can say that, like I know it gave like a ego boost to say like I have a lot of option, which is like, it can look like that, but it's not true. Like I don't like, I'm not compatible with everyone. I'm that person who prepared to be single than finding myself just doing it for the sake of doing it. I prefer to be simple. I don't like anything that has no direction. I don't like men who have no leadership. I don't like I don't like any kind of man who's gonna take away my growth. So if I have to go down, if I feel like I'm just doing, oh, I'm just gonna do it for the sake of it, I don't want that. I just don't fuck with that energy. I just allow myself to be seen. I allow myself to have no friends instead of being seen like as someone who have it all. When I don't have it, I don't have it. When I'm not gonna compromise myself, because there was a time that I had to dim myself down in order to make other people comfortable. I'm not doing that shit no more. I'm not walking that path, because I'm preparing myself to be loved. This is a journey whereby I'm preparing myself to be fucking loved, and I need that kind of love. So I'm not gonna say and act like I don't know that God is gonna give me that. I'm not gonna act like my ancestors are not aware of what actually I desire. But at the same time, I need to be that in order for me to receive that. I'm not gonna compromise that shit. I'm like, oh, I'm just like, I don't even like people who actually wait. Do you know those people like, I'm just gonna be with this person while I'm waiting for my partner. I don't even like those energy. I know people are doing it, but it's just a dick energy. Like it's so shitty. Like why are you using someone else to wait in order? Why you don't wait alone? Like why don't you fucking wait alone? You know, even with friendship, like I rather have no friends like at all than fucking with that energy, because when you are preparing yourself to be loved, how will you know this person is actually your lover? Because you still have that nigga, that your ex energy, or your girlfriend's energy, when you don't allow yourself to be seen to find out who you fucking are. Because even if I come, like let's just say I'm your soulmate watching you now, and then you're not even clean from whoever you were entertaining, you still having that energy. I'm not saying you're supposed to come like perfectly on that, but I just prefer people who just enjoy their own company, because I don't need you. I don't want you to need me either, because the once we started to needing each other, that's when codependent enter. That's when we find ourselves being dependent on another person. I'm not saying that it's not gonna happen, but you'll be like, no, this is not the relationship. Eventually, other people actually evolve from that, because I've noticed a lot of couple of like babes who are very like. Do you know those couple who actually date because they are actually feeling like they're not beautiful? Like, oh, I'm just gonna date this neighbor. It's not too pretty. I'm not gonna date this girl because I'm not too like she's not pretty like me. So we're gonna make each other wait. I'm a nerd. I'm just gonna date another. Like that is not love. That is not. Some people think that we just because we are born in the same date with someone now it's love. I'm like, what the fuck? Someone you were born with in the same day, it doesn't mean that person is your lover. Like it means your soulmate. That shit is wrong. Like just move on from that. People actually like having a same background thinking it's your lover. Nah. No, it's just like there are plenty of a way to choose to trauma bond with people. There are plenty of a way to choose to act like it's love while it's not love. Just because we're born in the same date, just because we're born in the same year, it can be anywhere. I'm not saying your someone can be not born like that, but some people I remember that nigga that I said like we had like a same like same things. There were so many things that were actually common. Uh, like I used to like date the rappers. Like I won't say rappers because not all of them were rappers, but I used to have a thing for rappers. And like I would see like a rapper, I'm like, fuck. Like I used to have a thing. Like I still find myself drawn to celebrate sometimes. I'm like, I just, but obviously, like most of the time, it's just because I love what they talk about and they whatsoever. But I used to have that thing, and when I come across a nigga that have the same, like even like he was born in the same date with my comic father, like there was someone in his family who have like a lot of things that were actually common. It was not just a date of birth. It was not just like a plenty of things like the domestic violence and all that. But the nigga never grew up from that. He's just another version of his father. But I didn't need it to experience him in order to see that, because I was actually more evolved when I met him. But I knew that if I met him like 2 years back, probably would have entertained that nigga. But obviously, we need to like understand that love it's evolution. That's why a lot of people who actually know love, they prepare to be single rather than to be in a relationship for the sake of being respected. Because when you are single in our society, people still treat you like there's something wrong with you. But I don't give a fuck. I just don't fuck with society norms. I just do me, and it works. So yeah, we prepare ourselves to be loved by having faith that I can love myself better than I did. I can love myself better than I used to. I can love myself better. I can allow a lot of love to happen in my life. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. Because when you're not preparing yourself to be loved, why do you want other people to love you when you don't love yourself? Do you know how heavy it is to love someone who don't love themselves? Do you know those spoiled brat, those childish partners who who ask for something like who ask for something, and then when something is just right in their face, and they starting treating it like it's a regular shit, and then when it's gone, they starting to reach out and like, ah, I made a mistake, maybe blah blah blah. I don't fuck with those niggas too. I don't fuck, like you should not supposed to fuck with those bitches too. So I'm like, you are like when you prepare ourselves to be loved, it's gonna be fucking lonely. It's gonna be so lonely. Like you'll be like, "Ay," like you even frustrated, like why can't you give me what I want? Like you won't even realize that there's still some energy that actually lingering around you that you still need to let go of. So when you prepare ourselves to be loved, you need to be disciplined. So being disciplined doesn't mean just because you're saying you're not gonna be tempted. You're gonna be tempted. Like a lot of people will throw out on themselves like you, and you'll be like, like they feel it that you have like. It's like when you're elevating, God will give you something that almost you'll be like, oh, he was almost there, like almost. Like I was looking, reflecting, like I was looking at the people that I actually went out on a date with, people that I actually met, went out on a date with. Like he's almost, like it's so almost, like do you know what people are like, almost, like he's almost there. Like you're not supposed to date him almost. You're supposed to be like a perfect fit. Like yeah, I'm talking about those one that make you fall so scared, not because they're intimidating you in any manner, because their growth intimidates you, because you are also required to do the same. You also required to grow. They push you to spiritual growth that goes well with because psychology and spirituality is like this. That's why I love psychology. So it's like this, like spiritual growth and psychology, it's like it's besties. So we have to prepare ourselves to be loved by putting the work that we need to be put in ourselves. We can't just allow ourselves to be in a place where we, because when we are not prepare ourselves to be loved, you're gonna like miss a lot of people who gonna come through your journey. When I say miss a lot of people, they're gonna come through your journey. I'm talking about people who are actually good for you, because you have a self-sabotaging tendency that you're not willing to heal. That's why when you finally make a mistake to letting go of someone is actually good for you, you ended up regretting. Probably some regretting for the rest of their life, because they know what they did. They know what they did.